Hey, welcome back. This is Christopher Moldong, the author of the fantasy adventure novel The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom. Last time I talked about Rave Master Volume 6 through 10, and today I'm going to do my reviews on Rave Master Volumes 11 through 15. You can check out my author's website at www.chrismoldong.com, where you can check out blogs which are updated weekly, free short stories, and stories for sale as well. You can buy the Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom uh, for $4.99 at my website at www.chrismoldon.com on PDF format. Or if you guys have a Kindle or other um, device that will read ebooks, um, you can get it on Amazon.com for $4.99. So, um, where we left off is the Death Storm. Haru and the gang are going through this Death Storm, and they're heading to Symphonia to pretty much, I guess, get it, to get information. So, before we get into this, there's gonna have spoilers, obviously. So, let's get started. Volume 11. They break through the Death Storm, and when they land in Symphonia, they find that it's totally deserted. Ellie, as they search through this deserted Symphonia, Ellie gets a sharp pain in her head, um, but they still continue on. Plu, there's this one spot, just kind of randomly in Symphonia, that Plu stabs with his horn. He stabs the ground, and a giant world map forms on the ground that shows lights of the locations of the remaining Ravestones. It also shows these black lights. So this unknown man just kind of appears before him, and he tells him that those lights are where the five true Darkbring are. And this guy, he calls himself the Darkbring Master. I believe he's the blonde demon. Um, in previous volumes, like Haru's dad Gale tells Haru about star memory and find it. And apparently, this Darkbring Master is also looking for star memory. He also reveals to them that he has a piece of Sinclair, which is the mother Darkbring that caused the overdrive. Um, during the time flying towards the group, Duration 6, Reina, Belial, Jegan's Dragon, Julius, I think it's Julius actually, but it's spelled Julius. I'll say Julius actually. And Haja the Infinite are flying towards him. Shuda used to be one of the Duration 6, but obviously he's not with them anymore. The Darkbring Master, he walks past Haru and kisses Ellie, stealing her first kiss. Then he pretty much leaves, and Duration 6 appears before the group. You know, and this is, you have to understand that, like, Haru thought, like, when he destroyed the Tower of Din, and then King destroyed Demon Card headquarters, that Duration 6 was probably no more. That was not the case. They apparently managed to escape. Um, so, it's Haru and his group, like Let, Musica, Ellie, Griff, Plu, um, and Let, he sees Jagan and just goes crazy and attacks Jagan. During this time, too, Reina is fighting Musica, and it's revealed that Reina is a silver claimer just like Musica. Julius fights Ellie. Haru's fighting Belial, and Belial has this, like, earth magic, or earth, this dark brain that can control the earth. Haru can't really do anything against him. So, Let, as he's fighting Jagan, he goes through this dragon trial where he releases the dragon within. And, there's a little backstory between Let and Jagan. It said that Let loved a woman named Julia, and Jagan killed her and destroyed his home. So let's go into this dragon trial, and he passes it. It looks like he was going to fail, but then he passes, and he now looks human. So Jagan then reveals that the wild dragon that he's been riding around in is actually Julia, who didn't pass her dragon trial. Uh, he also reveals that each of Duration 6 members has a 6-star dark ring. Jagan's is Yggdrasil, which is like that's actually like supposed to be the world tree, in like Legend, and then a couple different RPG video games. He uses that against Let. And during this time, Reina reveals her backstory with Musica, and that she lived with her father. She was like the father was an inventor, and he made this. He made the Silver Ray, which apparently she believes Musica's mentor and teacher Rise stole. That's why she has this beef with Musica. So it pretty much ends there, and like Musica, he believes her, and he's willing to get himself killed by her for Rise's sin at the end of the volume. So at volume 12, everyone gets crushed. I mean, all the good guys. Reina defeats Musica. Um, Let gets, loses to Jagan. Griff, he sacrifices his life to protect Ellie and gets cut in half. So when Ellie sees Griff dying, it triggers Ethereum, and the crest of Symphonia actually appears on her arm. And you think, oh yeah, this gives him some hope. No, she runs out of energy, and she collapses pretty much. Haru's still fighting. Um, he tries to attack Haja the Infinite, which is like useless. So Duration 6, they pretty much try to gang up on Haru, and Sieg Heart goes in and saves him. He comes in, he says he came there to protect Ellie. He's fighting them. I mean, they are no match for this guy. And Haunted the Infinite reveals that they can defeat Siegheart, but at the cost of the rest of Duration 6. So they all retreat. It turns out that Griff didn't die, but was just split into 2 Griffs. So this was actually one of the coolest parts of the story so far. It's like there are a lot of very, very powerful people here, obviously. Duration 6 just wrecked shop on Haru and the gang. Haja didn't really do much, even. And Siegheart apparently is like this insane elemental master. He's pretty much an archmage. And he seems pretty much unstoppable at this point. Excuse me. So they go back. They show Demon Card headquarters, and the blonde demon was waiting for Duration 6. Hodge of the Infinite gives the blonde demon King's Sword, Decalogue, the one that can also use the forms of the 10 powers, and he anoints him as a new king of Demon Card. And it turns out this blonde demon was Lucia Raregroove, which is King's son, who was thought to be dead. So, that should be very interesting moving forward, now that we have the villain of villains right now. They really established, the new villain, major villain. I mean, there's Doryu, Ogre, and whatnot, but obviously Lucia Raregroove is going to be a major player moving forward. Siegheart then reveals that the name Ellie and 3713 are actually coordinates. So, and they're in Symphonia, so they head for the coordinates in Symphonia, and when they find them, the landscape changes into this sort of like forest with a skeleton that's just sitting alone there. And this skeleton is actually wearing a pendant that is the same pendant as the one that Ellie's wearing. So apparently, this place is actually the grave of Russia Valentine. And Ellie has a flashback, and she mentions the name Kaim, Kaim. Then Ellie sees her past and sees that she was able to use Ethereum as a young girl. She also sees Kane, and he tells her at the very end of their like flashback to take care of Gale, whatever that means. Um, it can be Gale Raregroove, which is King, or Gale Glory, which is Karu's dad. Okay, so that happens, and then Sieg also tells them that they need to get all the Rave Stones and that Ruby can use magic. They then leave Symphonia without Sieghart. Sieghart kind of does his own thing, and yeah. The next chapters are kind of like one-shot chapters in a sense. Next chapter, they meet a doctor named Alice. They have some misadventures, but they're given these like elixirs. He's apparently this like crazy doctor that has elixirs that can fix almost anything. They then go to Acapella Island to meet with Saga Pendragon, who looks like Nakajima. I mean, I guess it's the island where like Nakajima came from. Is that like sunflower thing that just hangs out at like against the wall uh, of like Haru's house back in Garage Island. Apparently, Saga Pendragon can predict the future. Saga tells Musica that in the south he will be presented with two difficult choices. Ellie, Ellie will discover a great sadness within her in the south. Something precious that let loss will come forth in the south. Ruby will draw his blade in a fateful encounter, and Plute and Glyph will flicker like the candlelight. So on to volume 13. Starts out with Lucia, Rare Groove. He reveals that General Deep Snow, who was a former Imperial general, has been with Demon Card all along and is now the newest member of Duration 6, replacing Shuda. They then have a coronation for Lucia. Jagan and his dragons, along with Reyna, are sent out to recover two Sinclairs that are in the south. And then another character that's introduced is Dalmatian, who's one of the Knights of the Blue Sky. Most of this book, they go through this cave. It's not super important to the story, but they just go through this cave. There's some hardship in there and whatnot. You can kind of just skip through that. Haru and Lucia, well, in this cave, though, Lucia, they have a dream about Russia Valentine being tried and imprisoned in a time vortex. Afterwards, you're introduced to Pumpkin Doryu. Like, you actually really get to see him, an ogre, who's the Onigami commander, and they've joined forces. Haru then, after that, he looks for fish underwater, and then he meets the mermaid Cilia. They then head, like Haru in the group, and Cilia leads him to the mermaid village Modesta, only to find it destroyed and deserted except for Celia's sister. So then there's like this moral thing going on where like they want help, but it's their way is not to ask for help. Let, being Dragon Race, is of the opinion of not getting in the business and affairs of other races. So there's some sort of right now there's some sort of I guess like racial slash like centenoid undertones here, where like humans and like centenoids and other races should not really be commingling with each other. Haru, obviously, knowing Haru, he's got to help anyone that needs his help. So Haru and his companions decide to help Sally and the mermaids. Apparently, the Onigami have captured the mermaids, used as an energy source to fuel a weapon called the Mermaid Cannon. At the end of the volume, Haru and his friends infiltrate the Onigami base Shoran. Then volume 14, Haru fights ogres outside while the rest sneak into the base. One thing that's noticeable is they're fighting underwater and they are having a really hard time, whereas the ogres have a really easy time fighting underwater, whereas Haru and his friends, they can't fight at the same speed or precision and whatnot underwater. Um, so Musica, Ellie, and all them, Ruby, um, Plu, Griff, they all get captured inside. Outside, Haru uses the seventh form of the 10 powers, Gravity Core, which is a strong yet heavy sword. Um, so it's actually up to Plu and Griff in the base to save the captured group because they can get past these it's got these walls slash bars, but they're so small that they can get through them. So they're going through the base, and they meet this unicorn Watanabe or Uni, who looks like Griff but with a horn. Griff and Uni, I mean, there's a sight gag here, or there's a gag here where Uni thinks he's an ogre because he has a horn, and apparently Plu has a horn, and Plu is supposed to be a dog, so Uni is convinced that he's a dog. Plu makes a comment where Griff and Uni look exactly the same, and they do, and they can't seem to recognize it. So there's this ongoing gag there about that. Um, there's some, Goon Squad Oni that they all beat. However, that Plu and Griff manage to free Musica and everyone, and Haru gets in the base eventually. But there's all this Goon Squad Oni, and yeah, they all just beat him. Ogre captures Ellie to power the mermaid cannon while Doryu captures Ruby. Doryu seemingly kills Musica and says that he has fallen into deep darkness. Unbeknownst to Haru and the group, Ogre retreats to the River Sally, which is his ship or whatever, and then Doryu goes back to his floating base called Creature. So they all leave, but Musica's Silver Skull and Ellie's Tonfa Blasters are left on the ground. So Haru and the gang are in Shoran, and the villains are elsewhere. So they shoot their mermaid cannon towards Shoran, but Haru cuts it in half, the blast in half, and Ellie, who is a power source for the mermaid cannon, is also controlling the split blast, so it doesn't hurt anyone. Then it's also shown that Reina and her corpse and her squad, Reigns and Sopra, infiltrate the River Sally, while Haru and his friends infiltrate Creature. So it looks like Haru's going after Doryu, or Reina's going after Ogre. And it ends with them fighting Cookie Crusher. In volume 15, at the beginning, they defeat Cookie Crusher quite easily. He's kind of a Goon Squad guy. And then they fight They fight a bunch of wolves, and they fight this werewolf. The werewolf actually turns out to be Musica, and with Alice's elixir, they change him back into human. They free Ruby, and Celia fights with one of Doryu's minions, Lilith, who was introduced earlier, and Celia wins. So Haru and the gang, they go to this mushroom area, and they see this guy named Poison Cloud Orochi. So they're fighting him, and all of a sudden he's gone, and they search this one tree. Like he's against this tree, pretty much dead. It turns out that Jagan beat him quite easily. Musica then fights Frankenbilly while Haru and Ruby fight Doryu. Musica defeats Frankenbilly, but like as he's on the ground, he's asking him about the Silver Ray. So at the very end of the volume, Doryu and Haru are fighting. Haru has like no chance against Doryu. And it shows Doryu. Doryu has a sword, this dark sword, and he stabs Haru at the very end of the volume. And that's where the volume ends. Some general thoughts. Man, there's Oration 6. You know, these guys are just really strong. What can you say? It seems like a lot of them have some sort of backstory with some of the major characters. You know, Let with Jagan and Julia, Reina with Musica. We don't even know what Haja the Infinite does. He didn't even show his powers, and he seems to be like the leader of the Oration 6. So I expect him to be a really strong guy. Sieg Hart, you know, I mean, you know, for him to just go in there, these guys are just beating up Haru and the gang, who are really strong. Sieg Hart beats up those guys. I mean, he is just, you know, he's a good guy right now. We don't exactly know what exactly he's trying to do. He's obviously going to have a bigger role, but right now it looks like he's on the side of the good guys right now. There's obviously still a lot with Ellie and her past and her whole connection with Russia Valentine. This guy named Kame. So it seems like as we go on, there's just more questions with Ellie than there are answers at this point. And this whole Symphonia story pretty much introduced so many new characters and just so many new questions too. You know, it's like, what's everyone gonna do once they reach a star memory? What is this place? You know, how are they gonna get these rave stones? What powers will these stones or Darkring or Sinclair Darkring bring? You know, bring to them, for example. Lucia, you know, he was introduced, and you know he's been built as this very what's the word, threatening villain. You know, like a real threat to the group. He could very well be like the last boss of a game or something like that. Um, you know, the way he got into Symphonia, he like pretty much killed the leader of this one gang quite easily. He has one of the Sinclairs. He's now the leader of Demon Card. He's going to be tough for Haru. Um, and you know that Lucia and Haru are going to eventually fight. You just don't know when. Uh, but yeah, he's been built as this very huge threat to the group. And yeah, it should be. Um, It was a, you know, it was a really good surprise too that like Lucia lived and he is King's son, and it was just this good surprise. You know, it's like, oh, okay, like that's how everything's gonna work out. You know, it's they have a new leader of Demon Card. You know, it turns out that Deep Snow was with Demon Card the whole time, and it's also been hinted at in past stories that the Imperial Army were not exactly good guys themselves. I mean, when they had Gale Glory's backstory with King, Gale tells the Imperial Army about like where Demon Card headquarters is, and they just kill King, his whole family, and whatnot. And then they tried to try to arrest Gale Glory as well. So yeah, they do a really good job of establishing the current and future threats to Haru and his group. Um, I'm very curious about Let's connection to Jagan and Reina's connection to Musica. You know, Reina's uh, Silver Claymore, while like Let, you know, he's Dragon Race, Jagan's Dragon Race, and excuse me, and there's this a girl in between named Julia. Um, I like this mermaid story arc so far. I think it's a fun story. I like Shelly as a character. She's cute. She seems to really like Haru. She probably loves him. or she does love him. Uh, I also like that, like, there's that new challenge, like, oh, they're underwater. The characters aren't as strong. They can't just use their powers like they normally would. So they had to find, like, creative ways to use their powers. Um, Doryu also appears to be just such a powerful guy. And Haru, I mean, he couldn't do anything against him. I'm sure that Ruby will most likely play a role against Doryu. Um, I gotta say this right now too. I kind of figured that Musica wasn't dead. Um, major character like him, if he died, they wouldn't just have like one page and it's kind of all over. I mean, it'd be a pretty big thing if he died. And it kind of looks like that Musica is getting closer to finding the Silver Ray. So, yeah, that's actually pretty much it for my manga review for Rave Master Volumes 11 through 15. Uh, if you have any comments, just leave them below. And you can support me by buying my first novel, The Mustard Prince and the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99 on PDF at www.chrismolnar.com. Or if you have a Kindle, you can buy it off of Amazon.com for $4.99. Please also check out uh, manga reviews for Rave Master Volumes 16 through 20, which will come out pretty soon. I'll also have a couple more short stories, free short story readings coming up, so look forward to those as well. Might even have a Q&A coming up pretty soon. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions for me about, like, the Mustard Prince, about writing, or whatever, uh, feel free to leave some questions in the comment section, or message them to me. So, yeah. So, that's pretty much it for this manga review. I hope you guys have a nice day. Thank you guys very much.